This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Converting propane burners to natural gas, required wrench sizes for keg posts, and do I need to remove muslin bags when cooling my wort? This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 356. I'm muted. I muted myself. What the heck? Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or even better, call it in, leave a voicemail, get yourself a $25 gift card to catconnection.com when you use our hotline 325-305-6107. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing, joined as always by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com, Mr. James Carlson, my friend. Oh, your hat makes me sad because I miss you driving a Corvette, bro.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a daughter that turns old enough to drive and you're on her she's on your policy. So.
Oh, no, respect to you for being an adult, because I would have been like, sorry, babe, you're on your own. No, that Corvette was so cool. The first time I rode in it was with Todd. You gave Todd the keys, and he terrified me on that straightaway. So when we turn left out of the office and go to that road, what is that road?
Well, it's 377.
Okay, so he turns on 377. It's probably 9 in the morning. No one's really on that road. I forget what time of the year it was, but he just was like, oh, these cars go fast. And then, and that was before he had the Tesla, or did he already have the Tesla?
He was in the process of getting it. He hadn't got it Yeah, he got it like a couple weeks after I got mine.
You're right. You know what? Because I remember the first time riding in his Tesla being like, I'm an idiot. I fell for it again. Like in a car that can do this like 0 to an insane speed real fast, I fell for it again. But I don't know if it's disrespectful to divulge this. I feel like he was very gentle with your car, but he definitely showed me what it could do. You had to have known he was going to do that though when you said, here's the
Oh
key.
yeah, everybody that's drove it just I got a good friend that he's literally trying to break the transmission every time he shifts. He's just like,
oh no.
I mean, he grits his teeth and I'm like, dude, calm down,
like, please
man.
Please stop. That Corvette though,
don't make it any faster.
And then you took me on a ride once, like I don't know, a month or two after that, and did the same thing. But I feel like you had more control over it when you did. Like, not saying Todd was dangerous as much as like I feel like you know when people get dialed into their cars already, and yeah. But one of the I want to poke fun at you at, I still don't know how you fit in it. You're 9 feet tall. I felt claustrophobic in that thing. How did you fit in that?
You wear it. I mean, it's got side bolsters. It's actually one of the largest. It's one of the better cars for a taller person, I think.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
I had no problems with it. Yeah, it fit me like a glove.
Yeah.
Her seat was all the way back, but
yeah,
that's fine.
Can I say what else fits like a glove? A 2021 Subaru Forester. Very
but I was always shocked at the amount of hate I got. It was
the Corvette?
amazing. Yeah. It's like
envy hate. It was envy hate.
I don't know. It's just I had one person that said that people that drove them were douchebags. So I don't know if I should say that. But
well, that's like me saying people.
But I'm not. I promise. I just really like fast cars. I always have. I thought it's like a amusement park ride every time you get in it.
Absolutely.
That's why I like it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was trying to.
James, when I get out of my Forester in Austin, Texas, people say, "Huh, I was expecting a lesbian." So I also understand car stereotypes. But anyways, yeah, the hat made me miss that. We have a jam-packed show, but unfortunately Todd couldn't join us today. Todd, we were supposed to do the show yesterday. He actually recently was like, hey, you could get some questions that like are my expertise. So I did, and then he ditched us for his family. He and Liz are on a plane right now towards Chicago with their youngest daughter to go visit their oldest daughter. Liz's birthday is Saturday, his wife.
Yeah.
And I don't know actually how old she is, so I can't throw her under the bus. It's 60 something. But she's that was all she wanted was for her birthday to go see her daughter who just moved to Chicago. So they're going to go up there. Today is Thursday. We're recording it the day we're publishing it. And I don't think he's coming home till Sunday night. So nice little trip, nice little birthday trip, but he couldn't be on. So I did take a whole, and what's funny too is I also, to treat him, I was like, I'm going to do all voicemails this week. And I did, but now you get to benefit from it, James. We get a jam-packed episode full of voicemails. I also have listener feedback. Before getting to that, I do have some small talk. My pop and I are going to brew our breakfast stout this week, which reminds me, our new friends at Field Heads Coffee Roasting up in Montana sent us some delicious, incredible bags. I got to bring you a bag because they gave us more than we're going to need. I need to bring a bag for the office. I love the smell of coffee, beans especially. And I've been making some from one of the bags here at home. My wife loves it. I love it. Pop, when we brew, you're going to try it. You're going to love it. It's going to be good. They were nice enough to send me a care package for us, and friends of the show can go to fieldheadscoffee.com. That's all one word, fieldheadscoffee.com. Use promo code Homebrew Happy Hour, also all one word, Homebrew Happy Hour. You get 10% off your online order. I know. Fantastic people. Cool. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I talked to Randy over at Spruce on Tap, and he's going to be on the show in the future. I was trying to plan out because you and Todd are going to be gone for 2 weeks of recording, so I'm trying to plan out like who to get on the show and whatnot, so I can have content for that week. He was one of them that's like, yeah, I could probably do it. And I was talking to him about, when we deal with sponsors, it's almost always small companies. Like even I'm wearing an Imperial shirt. Imperial's not a big conglomerate. So when we call them, it's always Owen, the owner, we're actually talking to. And same with Hops Direct and Muntins. Like we're talking to the owners. And so we can be candid, and we've established this repertoire with them, that, this this relationship. And so I was talking with Randy at Spruce on Tap, and I was like, dude, I appreciate your partnership for October. People are going to love the kit. People have already been brewing that recipe and telling me, oh, it tastes great. Going into fermentation now, I'm excited. It smells like pine. I'm like, you're nuts, but I'm happy for you. And I was like, bro, please tell me, did anyone use our promo code? Because I'm always terrified, James, when we work with people.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Same way.
Because I show people our numbers, and our YouTube is a fraction of what our audio downloads do, and I'm very candid with them. They're like, I don't know. We don't pay for bot services or anything, but the internet, nothing's real, so I don't know what to believe. It's a lot of numbers, and it's not in the bigger picture, but for a niche like this, it is. And he was like, oh yeah, no, a few people have already used it. This was mid-October. I was like, oh, thank God. I feel so validated. I feel so.
Good. But I think what a lot of people don't really comprehend is how big an ocean of content YouTube is.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my
God.
So
to get lots of views on YouTube, it's a pretty phenomenal thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and
we're not all Mr. Beast.
Yeah, and he doesn't do long form like our shows our content that is actually consumed on YouTube the most is our 10-minute or less stuff. Like it's the how-to. It's people who have their phone on brew day and they're like, oh crap, how do I do this? Or, they're ready to force carbonate and they find that video, or they want an opinion on equipment and they find your video. So, and we knew that the podcast being on YouTube is mostly a formality of keeping the YouTube channel updated at least weekly, because we don't have the time to record as much content as we'd like. Best case scenario, I would love Todd to come to me January 2024. Josh, I only want you to do content, but that's not real. That's not going to happen. We have bigger fish to fry. The content creation in the podcast is maybe 15% of my job. I'd love for it, Mr. Burns, to be 90%, but it's not. It can't be. We have to we have to invest our time in other things. But either way, where I'm getting at is, friends, go to fieldheadscoffee.com. Use our promo code Homebrew Happy Hour so they know we sent you. They're good people. They're also small business. We are trying to just do our part supporting products that we enjoy and people that we enjoy. So you can go over there, use our promo code and all that jazz, which speaking of brewing and all that stuff, our November kit for members of our Trub Club, the California Common, also known as a steam beer. This is James's recipe that you did when we were doing true to style recipe kits, and it's a clone basically of Anchor Steam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which if people haven't had Anchor Steam, too bad, too late, they're done.
I still hate that. I can't believe somebody didn't pick them up and buy them out.
It's so stupid.
It's a shame.
It's so stupid, but it was probably one of my favorite craft beers, and it's been around forever. Obviously October's kit was our attempt at cloning their Christmas ale, which they change the recipe every year. So I was like, you know what, Todd, let's do one more month homage to Anchor as we pour one out for them. And so November's kit is a California Common, the steam beer. If people don't know, this is it's a hybrid. It is a lager strain. Our friends at Imperial are sending us a ton of pouches of Cable Car, which is a great yeast strain. It's hybrid in that the higher end of it is 65 degrees. So you're thinking it's like a Kolsch or alt beer in regards to that higher temp that you're going to be doing this bottom fermenting yeast at. But so we're excited for that. The hops from our friends at Hops Direct, and of course premium grains from our friends at Muntins. So again, with that being said, people might go, well, Josh, you never do lagers because not everybody can lager this or that, which got me thinking. One, it's a hybrid, so a lot of people might be able to do this, in their closet or whatever as the temperature's cooling down and still be at temp. Or I don't have a thing to put on screen. Darn, I'm going to have to edit this probably. Or I'll just put in the links in the description. I don't want to add anything on screen. I want to get this episode published. We have a brand new lid that we're selling at kegconnection.com that has a floating dip tube on it. People have been asking for that. As we've been adding, we have the quick carb lid, and people have eaten that up. They love that. And then they're like, whoa, y'all have talked about floating dip tubes and fermenting in a keg. Why don't y'all have stuff for that? Now we do. We've had for a while the spunding valve, and we sell. So it's that same spunding valve from Kegland that like others like More Beer sell, but ours comes with the premium CM Becker Disternet and it's the same price.
Yep.
You've eaten that just to make sure it's included because you want people using CM Becker distillates in the product.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, absolutely.
And that's the spunding valve we use. You and I specifically use. Todd doesn't pressure ferment, but we use that same spunding valve. Like I said, with CM Becker distillate. So someone, even if you don't have like a Firmzilla like we have, or some other vessel that is safe to ferment in, if you're watching this show and you're homebrewing beer, especially if you're in our Chub Club, there's a good chance you're already kegging. Spoiler. Right there, you can use a keg. You can get the spunding valve kit. It's like $30 or $35. You can get the floating dip tube lid, which is also $30 or $35. Under $70, well, with shipping. So it's like $75 shipped. You can now pressure ferment in a keg and serve. We're doing, Todd is, we're going to do a 5-gallon batch and make a video about it to show it, because it is our friend Jonathan Marut. I'll throw you a bone, Jonathan. I'm not throwing you any money for this, any of Todd's money, but I'll throw a bone. He came, last year, or was it earlier this year, and really convinced us, right? In regards to man, it is easy. It is straightforward. You can do it in a keg. I'm not saying every batch I'm going to want to do this, but it's nice knowing I could now, because I have so many. My dad and I have a lot of extra kegs, and in theory, we don't have to wait now for our fermenter to clear up. We just do it in a keg. You in a traditional 5-gallon keg, you're going to yield a little bit less, but that's a sacrifice you made for convenience. And my dad and I, it takes us forever to consume 5 gallons anyway. So what I'm getting at is, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, or if you're at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour and you're watching this video there, in the show notes, in the description below, you'll see links for all the stuff I'm talking about. If you're listening to this, I implore you to also go to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, subscribe to our channel, click like on every video you can, and hit the little bell icon for notifications so you know when we publish content. But if you're like, no, I'm audio only till I die, you can go to the very robust homebrewhappyhour.com. It's going to be in the show notes there as well. And all of our content's there. I think I had a listener tell me a few months ago, you don't push the website enough, Josh. It actually is very useful and has a ton of content. And I'm like, yeah, because I never think to. But we've put a lot of work into articles and content at homebrewhappyhour.com. So absolutely, I'd appreciate y'all going there, or wherever you are. We appreciate you consuming our content. So again, you can go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, join a recipe receiving tier, and get the delicious California Common, aka Anchor Steam Beer clone, sent to you this month. Thank you again to our sponsors, Mountain Malts, hopsdirect.com, and of course, the wonderful, the lovely Imperial Yeast. Mr. Carlson, that's enough yapping from me. I took like 17 minutes of your time. I apologize. What we're going to do right now, it's time for listener feedback. International Week continues. Last week I didn't have international feedback, but this week our buddy Peter from Canada called in. At the end, you'll hear, he said, I don't think this will get played. Joke's on you, Peter. I'm playing it. It's a lesson about basements, and it is as interesting as it sounds.
Hi, Josh and everyone else. This is Peter from Canada. We've spoken before. I am extremely behind in listening to your episodes. I actually just finished listening to the Pros of Recirculation one that you did in July. And I just wanted to follow up on, you asked what basements are for. I live and have grown up and have lived my entire life in Canada, and every single house I've ever owned or ever been in has had a basement. And I've always considered it as an important part of living in a country that's really cold in the winter. And the reason being, Todd mentioned about 18 inches of crawl space to bring water and plumbing to a house. If you did that in Canada, in the winter, it would freeze. So the plumbing has to come in under the permafrost layer. It's not always cold, but in the winter, it'll get cold down and freeze down to about 4 feet. So you might as well, if you're bringing plumbing down around in the 8-foot, 9-foot level, you may as well build room down there. So that's kind of what it's always been about for us, is the plumbing's got to come in anyway. So people with cottages, if they winterize them, they've got to put it at the very least a crawl space underneath, that's at least 4 feet, if not more, to bring plumbing in underneath, or the plumbing will freeze in the winter. That being said, the other thing you talked about was heating up wort during fermentation. I've had to do that before, and a heating pad and in a fridge works well. And you can either use it both so that you go up or down, depending, or you can just leave the fridge unplugged and use your infrared controller to control the heat. Keep up the great work. I'm not expecting this to be played. I just thought you'd want some education on why basements, and I thought I'd give it to you. Okay, bye.
So a few things, Peter. Yes, we thank you so much for leaving the feedback. He's called in before. Love Peter. Trying to give him enough store credit to cover shipping for something from Cat Connection. I want him to order. People in Canada, we get orders from Canada, but a lot of the time they're ordering bid stuff to where the shipping makes sense, And so, like ordering, a Dana cat lube is not gonna make sense to ship it to Canada. But either way, this is more evidence, James, of my depravity and how I thought Todd was going to be on this episode, because I know Todd would be like, you made me sit through something about basements. Yes, I did. I mean, but it is interesting to me because I have grown up only in Texas. I've only lived in Texas, and I don't know a single person with a basement. And so, it's foreign to me because he said cold, and I'm like, oh, so it gets to like 50? Like, no, Canada's a country where it gets like balls cold. I don't know. I don't know the term.
And a lot of people are brewing in the basement because it's an area where the temperature doesn't fluctuate a whole lot, from what I've been told. Texas does not have basements for the most part.
And our friends in New England who have basements, like our buddy Jason Challifer, I know he and Joe Whiting, our buddy Joe Whiting, I believe, does all his up in New York, upstate, I think, New York. He does all his brewing and stuff in the basement too, because like you said, it's consistent in a range, right? And
it's a good place to lager if you need to store if you bottle, it's a good place to keep the bottles in case you do have bottle bombs or less area to clean up, I guess. Basements are so foreign to me. I can't imagine that. I think it would be really cool to have a house with a basement. And then I would completely turn it into a brewing man cave.
Yeah. Can you imagine the difficulty in at least Central Texas where you're at, which it's so funny. I think I've mentioned this on the show. Y'all are literally Central Texas, but they call where I live Central Texas.
Yeah, and y'all are south of us.
We're south of you. But either way, you're in like this greater area of Central Texas. Can you imagine trying to even how expensive and difficult it'd be to dig a basement? It'd be an above ground basement, which is just the first floor. But like, it's just so the limestone, right? Isn't that what makes it so difficult? And
we've got out at my house. It's just a bunch of sand, and then you get limestone. But my well there, I live on just a couple acres out in the middle of nowhere. It's 30 feet deep, so you can hand pull it.
Dang.
So I don't know how good it would be if I just decided to build a new home with the basement. That thing may stay flooded half the time. Our water table is pretty shallow here.
It is very shallow.
So
yeah. No, that's a good point. But anyways, Peter, thank you so much. This is a reminder, my friends. Oh, no, pardon me. I meant to say the second part of it. That's part of the real reason I included it too. We did a video on the Inkbird. I'll put the link in the description. But doing that video review over the Inkbird 801 or whatever it is, I already forgot. They already gave us the money. But I forget the product that we did the review on and the showcase video on is when I learned people use the heating and cooling simultaneous more often than not. I've only used the cooling part of it, like with kegerator or teaser projects, like the ones Todd has built out or whatever, or if my pop and I are keeping a fridge at a certain temp when we're fermenting. It makes total sense to use both at the same, because it really, really dials in your accuracy of staying within a temp range when you're utilizing both. And if people want to understand more of what we're talking about, I'll put the link in the description below and the show notes. You'll see the YouTube video I did, and it includes a little blurb that Inkbird produced showing exactly how to use that product and all that. So anyways, thank you so much, Peter. Like I said, reminder, if and when you call and leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107 and we use it on a future episode, you do get yourself a $25 gift card. And we're full of $25 gift cards this week because we got 3 voicemails. And our first one is a voicemail from our buddy Zach from Michigan.
Hey guys, this is Zach from Michigan calling. I've got a question. With it starting to get cold, it's about that time of the year to start brewing to warm myself up. I have a detached garage that has a natural gas line that runs out to it to run a heater in the garage. I was wondering what it would take to convert my propane burner setup to run a tea off of the natural gas line out there so I don't have to mess around with propane tanks anymore. Is this a doable DIY project, or would it be best to call a plumber? Is it even doable to begin with? Would I have to get a new burner? Just trying to save myself the hassle and the money of propane. Let me know what you guys think. I appreciate your help. Nice things about Josh. Love the podcast. And you guys have helped me out quite a bit. So keep up the good work. Bye.
People are really phoning in the effort of complimenting me. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like, yeah, I could put a little bit more nice thing. Like, say the nice thing. Again, James, my apologies. This show was framed around Todd, and then he got on a plane and left us. He full disclosure, he was at physical therapy and it was supposed to end at 10, and he was like, we'll do the show at 10:30 because I had places to be at. I had to leave at noon to go to San Antonio, and he left early anyways. But he calls. He didn't even get out of that thing to what, 11 or 11:15?
Yeah, I think it was around 11, and I think he ended up staying till 1 or so, and then they ended up
just going.
Well, it was later than that because I had to tell him, hey, look, it's 2:30, and he's like, I know, I got to get going. He finally got out of here before 3.
Yeah, that guy. I knew that because he told me he was leaving also early afternoon, like 1-ish. But I'm getting emails from him at 2:33, and I was replying to him like, I thought you were off. Leave me alone. Anyways, my apologies because the whole thing was like, well, Todd, you converted your. I know we use a griddle. If you follow our Instagram or if you follow my Instagram, you'll see I love griddles. I love it. I don't really care about the brand. I use a Blackstone. They don't pay us, and it's great. The product is great, but I'm sure all griddles are great. I just love cooking on the griddle. Where I'm going with this is Todd. He has a great griddle, and it's propane, but he bought an adapter because his whole home. Oh, no, pardon me. No, he didn't. He bought the adapter just so that he could go straight from his output because he is all propane. He's not natural gas at all. So this wouldn't be. Oh, okay. I was mistaken anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't have propane is usually for rural areas.
That's right. He has a line adapter because he ran lines that he can come out of for his propane to hook up to things like that griddle or a heater or whatever. Kind of like what Zach's wanted to do, but he's actually wanting to convert an existing propane burner. Now,
and you can definitely do that. What you need to do is get a hold of the manufacturer of whatever appliance you're wanting to convert. Get with them first. And so a good example would be when we were doing the 40 gallon batches, we had 300,000 BTU burners. And because of where I was at, we didn't have access to natural gas. At the time when I bought the burner, the burner came with the burner and the regulator and the hose assembly for the cylinder. But you could also buy that same burner for natural gas. Well, natural gas is a lot lighter gas than propane, so it requires a smaller jet. So the jet is just a little piece of brass with a certain size hole that allows only so much gas to flow through it because it's got to mix with air, and that's what creates the burner. And so a lot of places, I would actually go down to your local natural gas office if you can't get anything from the manufacturer on, let's say you have a specific turkey burner that you're using to do your brewing on. and you got it at Academy. Absolutely, first place you should go is talk to them. If not, talk to the local natural gas office and say, I want to convert this to propane. What do I need? And somebody over there is going to know what to tell you.
Yeah. And I wanted to also elaborate, like when Zach asked, is this a doable DIY project? He has the best example between you and me of you going, everything is a doable DIY project, or me who's like, how much is it going to cost? Like to call the plumber, like, let's just get that, because you will you will pull up YouTube, or like you said, you'll exhaust all the first things of manufacturing all that. And I've seen you to pull up YouTube. It's like, oh yeah, okay. So you get the piece and do all that. So I'm confident this is a doable DIY project if you're a real man, sure, like James Carlson. But what do you think? Like plumbers, first off, plumbers probably going to be expensive. I feel like everything's expensive. Not just to say too, like I think he's going to be ecstatic switching from propane to natural gas. Propane is stupid expensive right now, in my opinion, like everything.
Right. Yeah.
It's he's going to be in or am I off? Natural gas is more affordable, right? I don't actually have it here at my home.
Oh, it's way the way they figured it. And I looked it up. The propane natural gas is measured by 1,000 cubic feet, I believe is what they said. And current prices in Texas for that is $2.71. And then if you do a gallon of propane, it's a little, but it's a gallon. So I don't know how you compare the unit of measure with propane versus a gallon of propane versus natural gas. But a gallon of propane is almost $3 a gallon here in Texas. So there's a huge difference.
Todd, his property, he couldn't run natural gas, so he has big old propane tanks. And when he had that pool put in, he put a hot tub there, and he whenever he runs it, obviously it's using propane, and I feel like it goes through a ton of propane, because he told me this was a couple years ago or last year, whenever he started it, he goes, yeah, it's about, to run it for half an hour, it's about $15. I was like, what? And that was like 18 months ago prices. I bet you it's more than that now, considering, like I said, everything gone up. Opening weekend, granted, we were busy drinking and hanging out with the guys, but one of the nights I was like, hey, you want to get in hey, let's do the hot tub, because it wasn't particularly cold this year for opening weekend, but it would have been nice to go up there. He was like, I think he asked me for a Venmo. He was like, oh, you want to use the hot tub? I'm like, no, never mind. No, we're good. Where I'm going with it, though, is one thing I do miss about my house that we had in Kyle compared to San Marcos, which this is an objectively nicer house in a nicer neighborhood. Why don't all houses have natural gas if it's available in their city? I loved having natural gas at our home in Kyle. When the freeze apocalypse happened in 2021, all the electricity was out for like almost a week, but we were still keeping warm and cooking because of our gas stove. And it was extremely nice and convenient to have that. Now I just have a little storage thing full of propane just in case if we lose power. I'm going to have my Coleman cooker or my griddle, right, to be able to try to keep us fed warm with warm food. But besides the hassle and the money that he's talking about, like you said, for that, do you think, is there any guidelines you'd say when you're splicing gas like this and stuff is dangerous inherently, right? In regards to,
you've got to just make sure there's you want to soak test all the fittings, that if you are going to do that, just make sure everything is sealed up and you don't have any leaks. That's the most important thing. The cool thing about natural gas, and for the most part propane, is they put a scent in that, so you can tell immediately if you've got a leak. But by the time you can smell it, it's probably too late. So you just got to be careful. Contact your local natural gas office and get suggestions from them, and they might even exactly know what you need, and or they can refer you to somebody that can come out there and make those changes safely. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Some cities do have departments that is a service that is included in your taxes somehow anyway. Oh yeah, when we were, this is the water department, but when I have apparently two switches of from the meter. There's another like inline to my house. My father-in-law and I, when we were doing the conversion in my garage with the RO system in the sink and running water, like, son of a gun, why aren't we able to shut off this water? They sent someone out. She came out, she found it, she did it for us, and I was just like, oh, is that like going to cost us anything? No, that's what we do, and left. I am, you know, like
That's
you
cool.
said, yeah, it's worth looking into for the city stuff. Or let me throw one last thing in, Zach, before I wrap up your question. If you have electricity out there and you get a 240 installed and you buy yourself a Browtag 3-vessel Herm system and you brew 15 gallons, and that's to keep you real warm for the cold. I think that's the most obvious answer to this question, James, is to upgrade him to electric brewing.
Definitely.
On a Browtag.
And we've got those on hand. So if anybody out there want a Browtag for Christmas, we've got them.
Be careful what you wish for, because you're the one who assembles all the controllers, and that looks like a pain in the butt. I've watched you do it.
It's not the easiest thing to do, but I like to do them because I'll do a dry run. Sometimes I'll use it to brew a batch of beer. Other times I'll actually fill the vessels with water and just go ahead and do it like I would be brewing. And that way I know the Herms controller and the element and the temperature. I can calibrate the temperature transducers and, go through everything and make sure, because there's so many connections and so many things that can go wrong. I just want to make sure, if you have one loose screw on a contactor, can burn it up from just resistance. So I'm real paranoid about it because I'm building them. I want to make sure they're right.
Yep. And before I announce any, because we're still finalizing holiday deals and all that, I will say, if you are interested and you're willing to come pick up your Browtag, call James at our office. They will work with you on a price that you're going to be shocked that they'll sell you.
Yeah.
And even our DIY kits, if you don't want the controller, even better. There's a little bit of wiggle room. I know you and Todd are just anxious to get it out. Like, just like, take it. People get brewing with it, and everyone happy. But anyways, Zach, thank you so much for submitting that question. Another reminder, my friend, if you call and leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107, and then I, the co-host of this show, play it on a future episode, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com, much like our second question of the day. It's another voicemail. It's our buddy John from Pennsylvania.
Hey, this is John from the tool and die capital of the world. I just bought one of your 18-liter plus kegs. Beautiful. They're hard to tell they're not even new. The question I have is, what size wrench do you use on the gas post? Is it 22 millimeter? Please let me know. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Curse you, Todd Burns, for having me bring another question in specifically for you. Now, John, great question. One, thank you for the compliment. We weren't lying, James, when we said those 9-liter and those 18-liter kegs are the best used kegs we've ever seen in our life.
Absolutely.
Absolute best. That's why they're not even called, they're remanufactured. I use the word refurbished, and Todd lectured me on why they're not just refurbished. He's like, they're not refurbished implies they're remanufactured because they went through all the info's in the listing. And I say 9-liter and 18-liter. He actually had me put the plus sign next to them because it's actually 9.875 liter and 18.642 or whatever. The point being, they're a little less than 5 gallon, but they're not quite 18 or 4 gallon, whatever 18-liter ends up being. It's in between there. Those are actually the kegs that I thought, oh, maybe I'll pressure ferment in one of those. And then Todd was like, oh, you might yield a little even less because they're less quantity. I was like, yeah, but they're such nice kegs. It'd be a good thing to do it in. Either way, do you happen to know, Mr. Carlson, is there an exact answer from John, or what I'm suspecting is it can vary on manufacturer, because even those 18 and 9-liter kegs, they're not all the same manufacturer. They're all the same incredible condition, but some of them are AB, some are Cornelius. We don't have, we don't pull from one and it's the exact same manufacturer every time. So is there a one size fits all wrench socket for gas post or something else?
Not that I know of. I would just, we think Keg Connection sells a 4-socket set that does pin lock, and I think it's got
It covers.
It's got 11/16.
Yep.
3/4, and one other. And some of them, one of the sockets is a 12 point, other one's a 6 point.
That's what, yeah.
So usually 90% of the keg posts out there will be covered under that kit.
Yep.
At Keg Connection. But I haven't really, in fact, you know what? I can go grab one and see what size it is.
You don't do that. I'll do the small talk in between while you grab it. He stole my thunder, friends. I was going. That's exactly correct. That was going to be my suggestion. Not just being salesman, Josh. I've been on a salesman kick lately. Not just being the salesman, but we sell that 4-pack because most people aren't getting the exact same manufacturer every time. Now, we do have some customers who call and they've ordered kegs from us before and they send us photos or exact descriptions. Hey, can you please send me, I ordered from you last year a Firestone Super Challenger 5 or whatever. And they're like, can you get me another one from your stash? And 95% of the time we can oblige. We can go look. It's not any sweat off our back. We're happy to help. But having that 4-pack just future proofs you. That way you pick up something off Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, or local homebrew club buy or whatever, and you're not able to be as specific in what you purchase. You can at least be confident like, oh, well, I'm going to have a socket for it. Like he said, the various sizes and the various fittings, like 6 point, 12 point. You'll that kit, I would agree with James, where it should cover 95% of posts. And this is a great reason to come to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. James grabbed one of those. Is that the 9-liter? I can't tell.
This is they're the same keg up top, but this is a smaller one, so it's easier to show on video. But this is one of the keg socket post sockets. It's 7/8. I don't know if you can see that, but it fits the post perfectly. So if you get the keg socket, and if you want them for the new kegs, the refurbished kegs, then it'll be 7/8, 6 point.
More than likely. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, and there's 12 point in that kit too. It works for like you said. I agree. You said 90%. I'm gonna say 95%. It should work with almost any keg that you get from us or anywhere. You source those kegs from anywhere. That should fit. And for people who don't have the actual wrench for those sockets, we conveniently sell that too. I'll put the link in the show notes below.
Yep.
And this was one of those ones, again, I'm so nice to Todd, and he's not here to appreciate, because this was going to be a short question. And instead of me dragging it out, I was going to go, you're right, Todd, we wrapped that up. But no, he's not here to you're going to have to vouch for me with him, James. That I was getting us through this episode, all voicemails, all keg stuff and all that. And he's not here to appreciate it. I will drag it out just a little bit. Would you agree with me that 4-pack is one of the things that anyone who has multiple kegs would benefit from having, along with
absolutely.
Extra gaskets would be a good thing too. Like the O-ring packs that we have, or just any O-rings for your lid, for your post, for your poppets, your dip tube. Keg lube, a thing of keg lube will go a very long way. It doesn't take much when you're greasing up gaskets. So one thing of lube should last you forever. Maybe a bottle of Sandstep or iodophor, some good sanitizer. Sandstep is good to have. That bottle, the 32-ounce bottle, will last you forever. It'll last you a while. And I'm trying to think what else would be good for people to, like, if they're building a cart of just, I need keg maintenance stuff. I think that about covers it.
Right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Get some sockets, get some O-rings, some O-ring lube, and some brew clean, and an extra pack of O-rings, and you're good to go.
Good to go. Y'all are, Todd at least, he has like a Husky or Milwaukee or some tool brand thing of parts. And I know it's because y'all go work out in the field on stuff and all that, but he has like this thing of all his disconnects of various types, and he has all his gaskets, sorted out this way. And he asked Todd, like, what should a homebrewer have? And he's like, this, $800 variety pack of whatever. But kidding aside, the reality is, you could, for very budget friendly price point, you can have your bases covered for when, because you're gonna have to replace gaskets at some point. That's a no-brainer. Even on these beautiful remanufactured kegs. The time will come. You'll need to, not just re-lube them. You'll need to replace them. Lid parts are always good too and all that. But anyways, I don't know where I ended up dragging out the question after I told you I wasn't going to. John, thank you so much.
Yeah, I
know. I can't help myself.
Yeah.
And Todd's not here to rein me in. John, thank you so much for submitting that question. We've got one final voicemail, Mr. Carlson. Our third question of the show comes from our buddy Christian from Ohio.
Hello, Todd, James, and Josh. Christian from Ohio. Just finishing up a brew day, and it actually sparked me to think of a question I've had for a while. It's a multi-part question, but it's all about chilling. So I put my immersion chiller in, 15 minutes before I'm done. Sometimes there's, a 1 minute to flame out hop addition. I'm using muslin bags, so there could be a couple different bags in there at a time. So my question is, one, should I remove the bags when I start chilling, or should I let them stay in the kettle with the immersion chiller until I'm done chilling? And then the second is, should I remove the immersion chiller and then transfer, or should I just leave it all in there, including the muslin bags, transfer, and then, clean everything in the end? So basically, I'm just trying to determine, should I remove the muslin bags before chilling? And also, is it okay to leave the immersion chiller in after cooling is done and when I'm transferring into my fermenter? Appreciate all the content as always, and just appreciate everything you guys do. And Josh, you're awesome. All right, have a good one.
Zach from Michigan, you can learn a lot from Christian from Ohio on how to compliment a guy. I'll start it by saying, and you can tell me if I've been doing it wrong, or maybe it doesn't matter. When my pop and I use muslin bags, and obviously we use immersion chiller too, that's our preferred method. I've never removed those bags during the process at all until I'm done and cleaning. Like that's when I'm removing the bags. Same with the chiller. The chiller's in my kettle until all the wort's been transferred into my fermenter. And then it doesn't come out till I'm ready to start cleaning and, washing, cleaning and rinsing all my kettle and the stuff that was in it. Have I been messing up my batches potentially, or does it benefit from removing it, or is it sits one way, half a dozen the other? I'm not going to notice a difference removing the bags or not removing the bags.
It all depends on the hop schedule and what you're trying to do. So if you've got a single hop addition and it's a bittering hop, you're probably tapped out on what that hop is going to produce as far as bittering units by the end of the 60-minute boil. So with me, I don't even use bags. I just pour the hops directly in, because with the Brautag, you can do a whirlpool, and that concentrates all the particulates in the center of the kettle when we go to transfer to the fermenter after chilling. But but if I'm doing a multi-hop additions and I want a specific amount and a specific flavor, then there's been times in the past where I don't want to over hop or over aroma or flavor on the hops I'm adding, especially if it's after the boil. I'll put them in bags and pull them. When they hit the clock time, I'll pull them because I want it a certain way. And as long as I want to be able to duplicate that on the next batch. So then I go through those steps. But if that doesn't matter to you, or you're wanting to see the difference, maybe do the same batch, pull it out, but make sure, keep in mind, after the boil, anything you touch is a potential contamination. So you want to make sure, if you are using whatever you're using to pull those out, make sure they're sanitized, or at least in the boil kettle during the last 15 minutes, so that you're not adding to any potential spoiling.
You're right. Worst case scenario would be contaminating right there at the end of your boil.
Right there at the end. So you're good on everything up until the boil ends. And once the boil ends, your risk for contamination, because you basically have warm sugar water, and bacteria we have this range called the danger zone, and that's 45 degrees to 145 degrees. If you're in that range for a certain amount of time, you risk contaminating that batch of beer. So I'm just throwing that out there. That's why if I do pull, I have my kettle. I have a big long stainless steel kettle spoon. I'll leave it in my boil pot and then use my brewing glove, and I'll just pull it out with that and put it in a bucket. But if you're worried about that with your 60-minute, those things are used up. So I don't know if it does. If it gives you peace of mind to pull it out, especially if you've got an all-in-one, and it sometimes can cause a blockage on the pump inlet at the bottom, then yeah, pull it out. But you can also lift the basket too. So there's a lot of pros and cons. If it's a single hop addition, 60 minutes, I wouldn't worry about it unless it's obstructing the pump inlet. If you're doing multiple hop additions and each one is key to a specific flavor profile, keep your sanitation standards where it needs to be, and then pull those as they time out. And that's the way I would do it.
So sort of relevant question, I think, as you were saying it, I was thinking of it. Like when my pop and I use the cooler brew, we can't whirlpool. And in the Grainfather, I could whirlpool. I mean, you could always whirlpool, pardon me. You can manually, right? But would you say I'm a guy brewing Kolsch with one hop addition at the boil. So like you said, that kind of thing doesn't matter. But I'm brewing, like even the breakfast stout has multiple hop and stuff in it that we're about to brew. It is not using a bag on late addition hops okay, or would you say okay?
Yeah, you don't have to bag it. Just make sure, be mindful of your times, your hop schedule and the times. And if you're adding aroma hops on the end, like at the flame out, which means you added it as you're turning the power off or the flame off to the kettle, make sure you're in a position to start cooling. Now, I use a cooler, a counterflow cooler, a chiller. Yep. So it's running cold water through an outside tube, and on the inside of that tube is the beer. So it's just a lot of people either use immersion or they use counterflow. I have counterflow. So as soon as I get done with the flame out, I've already circulated hot wort through a cleaned and rinsed chiller, counterflow chiller. So the boil is sterilizing the chiller, so I don't worry about infection there. But as soon as flame out happens, I turn the power off to the boil kettle, go outside and start circulating the water, because it'll happen immediately. And then I know that my hops aren't going to do anything. You wouldn't want to do an extended boil for an aroma hop, because then you're just going to convert those into IBUs or bittering units. And then it can drastically change the way that flavor profile you want it to be. And just be mindful of your times and chilling. If you're not using bags, if you're using hop bags, just pull them out with a sanitized spoon or tongs, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, that is one of the reasons my pop and I leave our big brewing spoon in the boil, because almost undoubtedly, like if we're out to, pull proteins out or something's, causing issue, you know what I mean? Like, it's just good, like you said, to have a sterilized piece of equipment that you can put into that kettle. Because one, even if you sterilize your hand, you don't want to go into hot wort. You've watched me have hot wort all over my hands. It's not pretty. But having a sterilized spoon or something is absolutely crucial on a brew day like that. Now, I've never, as I said, like, I use Muslin bags. My dad's probably watching this going, son, we haven't used it in forever, because we I don't know if it's laziness as much as just apathetic to like, it'll whirlpool at the end if we manually do it or whatever, and go into the center to where transferring is pretty much a clean process when you whirlpool, right? Like,
there's a little loss. I think that we've calculated a couple quarts loss with the boil kettle on a Brautag. That's what you're going to lose. I mean, you can definitely try to pump as much through, but you're just pumping a bunch of trash.
You are. Yeah.
I skim off the hot break.
Yep.
At the very beginning of the boil. And then at the end, I do my whirlpool, watch my burner. When I'm at the end of my boil, I make sure and turn the burner off. There's been times in the past where, man, I've got the chiller going. I've got, even in the summer, we have to back it up with ice. So I've got the counterflow chiller set in a water bath, an ice bath. And one day specifically, and I think I told you about this, I couldn't get it to below 120 degrees. And I just kept throwing ice on it, and it would just turn to liquid immediately.
Like, what is going on?
And I'm such a dumbass. I looked up, I'd left the element on.
Yes.
So it was trying to keep up. I can tell you the element had enough power and I had 40 pounds of ice, and I was trying to chill it down, and it would stay hot at 120 with everything I could do to chill it down.
You were getting pissed. You were getting so, I mean, I've heard it in hindsight.
Like, damn it.
Yeah, I wasn't there. You're like, what is going on?
You always turn your burner off when you do chilling.
So you use, like I said, counterflow. If you were to use an immersion chiller, for the sake of wrapping up his question, you're pulling out the badge, like you said, because you're being mindful. The chiller, in theory, it's sanitized. It's not leaching anything.
It got sanitized by just
being in there. Yeah. Being in the
15 minutes before the end of the boil. That's when you want to put your chiller in.
Yeah. So
it'll help sanitize it.
You don't pull that out, right? In regards to when it comes time to transfer. Like
you can. It doesn't hurt a thing to pull it out.
But I mean, you don't have to.
You don't have to. You can leave it in, leave it out. If you've got, like if you're having to do a manual whirlpool with your spoon, of course you'll have to pull it out.
Oh, totally.
If you're not and you have a pump doing the whirlpool, or a whirlpool is not important because you're brewing a bag, or you have a basket that you can pull, it doesn't. Just leave it in there. It doesn't hurt it either way.
Thank you for including the context, because I was ready to drag it out and be like, well, what about if you do a manual whirlpool? And then throw you a softball where you were like, yes, because obviously the chiller's in the way. You cannot manually whirlpool with an immersion in there. Yeah. I'll end the question with a little bit of listener, give y'all an opportunity to throw some shade my way. My last time I brewed on the Grainfather, it was hot outside, the counterflow. I'm new to the counterflow and trying to dial in pressure and all that and make it go slow. And people like chastise me for recirculating till I got down to temp. They're like, that's not how the Grainfather's supposed to work. You go through it right into the fermenter. And I'm like, but it's still hot as hell. On my last batch, dude,
with that kind of heat, you can't avoid doing it that way, because that's the way I have to do it on my brow tag. I'd recirculate back into the kettle, and so I'm cooling the whole batch over and over again.
Yes. It works. It does work. Thank you. And it takes maybe an extra 10 minutes out of what chilling would normally take for me. But either way, last batch, it was so hot outside. I did, my dad and I did the double immersion method, where one immersion's in ice and the other one's in the wort. And that was way better than the counterflow.
Oh, that works amazing. But there's a lot of points to hook up, and that's the way Todd does all of his.
It works so good. I think, guys, this is where y'all can leave comments and throw shade at me with the Grainfather G40. I'm convinced I'm going to do that forever. It was just so much more straightforward and understandable to me. I might just put that counterflow on the bottom.
But you know what? That's the way when I was using that one, when I first came to work for Todd, which, by the way, I know you've been here a lot longer than me, but Monday was my 8-year anniversary.
Shut
this
up.
Monday working for C.M. Becker.
8 years already?
8 years.
Holy moly, time flies. 8 years.
When I started, he said he had been doing extract brewing, and he said, oh, by the way, I won an all-in-one. I've never used it, but here, take it home and use it. Here's some grain too. So I thought, how cool is this? I'm getting a really cool job, but he's actually let me brew beer,
encouraging me to brew,
and
giving me you brewed a ton on that G30.
I did.
That's what they call it now.
Probably at least 200 batches.
I believe
on that one machine over the years, and I would crack the valve, the output valve coming off the pump that goes through that pumps it through because it's a counterflow chiller just like what I use here, and I would just crack it down till I got the right temperature. And I was running cold well water through it, and it worked great. But if you've got warm water run through there, you've got to figure out how to move that heat out. Yeah, and the only way you can do it is just keep recirculating back in to the Grainfather or the all-in-one until you do get it down manageable, or you have to chill the chilling water down.
Yep.
And sometimes you have to do both.
And sometimes you have to do both. Yeah. We've done that too, where I used the counterflow the second time I ever brewed with it. And it was like May of that year, which I forget if they gave us that in 2019 or 2020. No. Well, I was living here. So they gave it to us like 2021 is when so it must have been May of 2022. Because I think January 1st was my first brew day on it of 2022. Either way, that day I did in May, I did have to immerse the counterflow in an ice bath just to help me out. And then that's when I was like, the next batch, if it's hot, if my groundwater is hot, I'm just using the double immersion method. And that is what I did. But yeah, again, let the hate flow in the comments. Say, Josh, you're an idiot. You're never supposed to recirculate the counterflow back into the wort. It's not meant to do that.
All the time,
dude.
Yeah,
you and me.
I just hook it up on a loop, and the outflow back into the inlet. Because on our brow tag, we have the very bottom jet is the inlet, the top jet is the outlet. And the reason why we do that is we want to pick up as much off the bottom before it hits the junk. And so when I get ready to cool, I've already set up my counterflow chiller. I run it in line with the pump. While it's boiling, I've got hot wort running through it. Now, keep in mind, with mine, I've already rinsed it with hot water.
Yes.
And I've got it ready to go. You don't want to have a dirty counterflow chiller and then have the last 15 minutes of the boil sterilize and sanitize the chiller.
No.
Because it's just like, keep everything clean as you can get it. Yep. So I've got a clean, rinsed counterflow chiller. I hook it up with my pump during my whirlpool, the last 15 minutes. So think about it when you're adding your Whirlfloc tablet, hook that up, and I've got it circulating through the chiller, through the cold water, dumping back into the kettle. So you're right, it does take a little longer to do it, but I'm cooling the whole thing down. Another thing that's neat about it is I know I have a thermocouple and I have a temperature reading, but I can put my hand on the kettle and I can tell where I'm at just by feel how close I am. Not only looking at the meter, but I can feel it as well.
Yeah.
And then you can slow down the flow to increase the heat transfer. It does work. I've had people argue and say, law of thermodynamics, doesn't matter how fast it's going on. If anything, you're saving water as well.
Saving water is what I hear.
Slow that water flow down. Give it time to absorb the heat coming off the wort and then expel that through the drain. But the most important thing is you're not using as much water. So slow that flow down, pump it back into your kettle. You can literally watch the temperature fall. And then what I do in the summer when it's super hot, it hits about 100 degrees. That's when I add my ice. It doesn't do any good to do it at the boil because it's going to cool down with ambient water temperature to a certain point, and it's going to stop. I mean, we have 90-degree tap water in the summer.
Yes.
So it's going to get down to about 110 degrees or so. And that's when I know when it stalls out, I always have lots of ice handy, and I've got it in a big 20-gallon kettle.
Yeah.
No, it's a 10-gallon kettle. And I've got that counterflow chiller setting in that with water, and that's when I add my ice, and I shut the flow of the water flow to the inside of the chiller. I shut that off because it's counterproductive if you've got 90-degree water running through the center of that chiller and you've got 30-degree cold water on the outside. It acts like an insulator.
Yeah.
So if you've got hot tap water and you're using a counterflow chiller, make sure when it stalls out at 110 or 100 degrees, shut the water off, put it in a water bath, add your ice, and it'll fall like a rock. And it works every time.
Every time. I agree.
Yep.
I love it. Absolutely. Christian, thank you so much for submitting that. And thank you, James, first off, for elaborating on you took that question where I wanted to so much better than I ever could. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time as well, my friend. Final reminder, guys, this was an all voicemail episode, and if you want to take part, I could really use the database, the data bank rather of more and more voicemails. Leave us one at 325-305-6107, whether it's a question, which I prefer, or feedback on a question you've already had. We'd also appreciate you going to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. Subscribe to the channel, like our videos, hit that little notification button if you want to know when we are uploading more content. We'd appreciate your help there as well. And of course, you can join everything we're doing at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Get in the recipe receiving tier and get yourself the delicious California Common this month. Mr. Carlson, my friend, thank you so much for your time. I'll be up there next week. I'll see you soon.
All right, see you.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or even better, and you could be Todd's best friend when you call, leave us a voicemail at our hotline, 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsors like Munton's Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Munton's malt, give them a try by joining our Trub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with premium recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Again, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of the absent Todd Burns, the handsome James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.